at the Colin Smith Barrick Playgarden.
It works, but
we're going through how to properly transfer the compost from the barrel into the community compost bin. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our wheelbarrow. We're going to put it underneath this hole so that we can get compost
look at that
out
pumpkin.
of the videotaping here. So we can get the compost out of the barrel. I'm going to stop there. You may have noticed that we had a pumpkin in here that was an entire pumpkin. For our community compost bin, there's an important step, and that is called, so the reason why chopping is important is because when we're putting it in the composting bin, we need as much surface area as possible to help with the composting process. And so if you have something like this, it's going to take a long time to decompose. Whereas if you chop it, I think the rule of thumb is to actually use your thumb. So if you have sort of like a chopping everything to about the size of your thumb or as close to it as possible is ideal. So I'm going to start chopping this guy right in here and try to break it down into the smallest possible parts. Now, in order to prevent work for somebody else who's doing the transfer, when people are loading the barrel, you can chop the things before you put them in there. And that prevents somebody from working so hard during the transfer to break the things down. So if you break it down before it gets here, then we don't have to do it on this end. Now that I've chopped up the pumpkin, I'm going to go through the rest and just go through and chop and try to get any big chunks chopped down into their smallest bits. Okay, that's a paper towel. Okay, now, once everything's been sufficiently chopped, well then you prepare to actually transfer into the bin. After you finish chopping things down into reasonably small parts, then you want to prepare the compost bin. In order for the compost bin to cook correctly, well then we have to have a cocoon of brown around the green. Now, our setup is such that we're adding brown into the compost bin when we're adding the green, which is great because we have to have a ratio of 1 to 3 parts of green to brown. For every 1 part green, we're supposed to have 3 parts brown. All right, and so we already have some green and some brown that have been added to the tumbler. However, when we put it to cook in here, we need to, Nikai, let her do it, please. We need to prepare a cocoon of brown for the green to cook in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take the brown leaves, thanks to Melissa Manna and Palmer Cemetery. For these leaves that are poop free. And so that is the bed that we're going to use to put the green compost on. Okay? Alright, pause.
Recording.
Recording. Alright, so this green is on the ground because it was already loaded. Normally what we're going to do is we're just going to chop everything inside the wheelbarrow and load it directly from the wheelbarrow onto the leaves. But we're going to work on this pile first. We're going to take all this. This has already been chopped up. So I went through and I chopped this here. And so it's pretty well chopped. So now we're just going to load this chopped up green on top of the leaves. All right, so you're going to notice that after we put our initial bed, we tried to centralize all of the compost to keep it in the middle. There's a reason for that. In order for us to have our cocoon, we want to get more leaves around the edges, around the side. All right, so you can start off by loading and trying to keep everything in the middle. Once you've got a nice little pile in the middle, you can stop so you can add leaves around the edges. So now I'm going to take some more leaves. I'm going to go around the edges, and part of the reason why they designed it, the geniuses who designed this compost bin, designed it the way they did is because now that you're starting to load this thing up, then you can start creating this barrier. And what this will let us do is load the leaves along this edge as well. So at this point, what we have is a donut of brown material of leaves around the center of compost green material. There's a couple reasons why this nesting and this cocooning is important. One reason is to minimize the smell. By having all the brown material on the outside, it prevents the more stinky green from offending our neighbors and the people who visit the space and use the space. The other reason is this avoids the attraction to rodents and pests. The brown really helps to keep everything sealed in there and helps to cook it in well. So that way, because this is low to the ground and it has wires and all kinds of things to prevent the rodents from getting inside of it, what we want to do is we want to minimize the odor so that way they're not attracted to coming to the area at all. If they get here, they're not going to be able to get inside of it, but they could try to want to get inside of it if they smell the odor. So this leaf cocoon is very important and very essential to this process. Also, in order for us to achieve the maximum amount of heat necessary for composting in this bin, then it's important that we try to make a cocoon that fills up almost this entire cube. The math has already been worked out by people that are way smarter than me. And so the way the math works out is if we have a cocoon that's about the size of this cube with all the green on the inside and on the brown on the outside, those are great cooking circumstances for our compost. All right, so now that we have the donut and we've got the green in the middle, we're gonna add some more green and add some more donuts until we try to get this thing filled up.
Go.
All right, scoping some green in, found this. So this is a good reason to have this process happen manually, is we can do these kinds of visual checks. Obviously, this is bad and we don't want it in there. If somebody were digging their hands in the compost, this would be a huge safety problem. I should also take a moment to note that I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask because I'm speaking to you. If I were doing this under normal circumstances, I would have a mask on in order to prevent any bad things, any mold or anything like that that might be inside of here from getting into my lungs. All right, so safety.
Wait. Go.
All right, so now we have a fresh pile, but this pile is built up on top of the initial pile that has a donut around it. So now we're gonna make another donut around this pile. And so we're basically gonna keep following this process until we near the top of this cube. All right, you can stop there.
Go.
All right, so the good thing about chopping inside of the wheelbarrow is it'll make for an easier transfer when you're getting high up like this. Instead of coming all the way from the ground, you're just taking it from this height right over into this space. All right, you can stop.
Take this part. I'm recording.
The two other pieces that we haven't done is we haven't weighed. They want us to weigh it, but we don't have the equipment to weigh.
Okay.
Okay. As you can see, we're nearing the top. And so I wanted you to see what it looks like once you're getting near the top. And so in order for this unit to work with maximum efficiency, and in order for it to get rid of all of the bad bacteria or bacteria that can make us sick or be harmful, then it needs to achieve high temperatures. And in order for those high temperatures to be achieved, we should wait until both sides of the turning tumbler are completely full before transferring over to one of these cubes. Because as you can see, we need a critical mass in order to get to fill up one of these cubes. All right, go ahead, you can stop.
Oh, that's the Brussels sprouts stem.
Yeah. So I just wanted to demonstrate a close-up of chopping inside of the wheelbarrow. So instead of loading the wheelbarrow completely, it's good to load it partially so that when you have something like this that needs chopping attention, well, then you have a little bit of a workspace, a little bit of chopping space in here to handle it. All right, cool, you can stop there. I actually don't yet. All right, now we come to the end. First time using our community compost bin. Here's the last of our green compost. Again, as I said before, we want to finish off the cocoon. Which, by the way, this one bin required 5 bags of leaves. So every time we're ready for a transfer, we're going to need to have 5 bags of leaves in order to do it properly. Alright, so come on over. You'll notice that none of the green composting material is exposed to the air. It's completely cocooned and surrounded by the brown leaves. If you come around here, then you can see when you go around the edge and you come around to the back that all you see are leaves all the way around. So all of the green composting material in the center is hidden away, it's cocooned inside of the leaves. The reason why we have netting here instead of more wood is that air has to flow in there. In order for the compost to compost well, it needs air, it needs material, so the food, the brown and the green material, and it needs space. So you'll notice that I just placed the leaves on it. I didn't try to push it down or pressure it down too much. It's okay for it to breathe a little bit and have some space in there. All right, so this cube is now full and ready to cook. With time, we'll continue to monitor it. One of the other things that we have to monitor that wasn't a problem when I was loading it is moisture. As it was told to us at our Community Composting Network training, you imagine that this is a party tent and the folks inside need food and drinks in order to have fun and party. They want to dance the night away. They can't dance if they don't have food and drink. So when I was loading everything inside of the green was nice and moist, so I didn't have to worry about adding a ton of water to this. However, there might be times when we're doing a transfer where we'll notice that everything from the tumbler is dry, and we may need to add water. All right, so it looks like this compost has the food, the drink, and the space that it needs in order for them to party. All right, and that's it for loading up the community compost bin. Please let us know if you're willing to help with this and if you would like to volunteer to help with this in the future. Thanks.